What if I told you that the pain you're feeling right now might be the very thing that awakens your power? That behind every challenge, every setback, every sleepless night, there's a version of you waiting to rise. This isn't just about motivation, this is about reclaiming your life, one decision, one battle, one breakthrough at a time. Are you ready to stop moaning on the nail and finally stand up? All right, here's the other thing: you got to become a risk taker. Write that down. Viscott said if you're not willing to risk, you can't grow. And if you can't grow, you can't become your best. And if you can't become your best, you can't be happy. And if you can't be happy, then what else is there? You know what? I saw a doctor, Norman Vincent Peale, 23 years ago, but for 13 years I wouldn't take the chance. For 13 years I was living in my comfort zone. For 13 years I kept saying, Les Brown, you can't do that. Les Brown, you can't have that kind of audience. Les Brown, you don't have the oratorical skills. You don't have the knowledge. You don't have the money. I kept saying I can't do that. There's an old African proverb that says, if there's no enemy within, the enemy outside can do us no harm. Bishop talks about the enemy in me. If there's no enemy within, how many of you know that you've been your own worst enemy? Raise your hands. So you've got to be willing to get outside your comfort zone. No one could have told me that the willingness to get outside of my comfort zone, the willingness to fail, to try, to experiment, to take some chances, to do something I've never done, that in the last 12 years, for 13 years, I didn't do it. I convinced myself I couldn't, but in the last 12 years, I've earned in excess of $14 million. Let me tell you something, $14 million, a good garden, and a healthy hog, and you can make it through the winter in Birmingham, Alabama. Do you hear me? No one could have told me I have books. Live your dreams, and it's not over until you win. No one could have told me. Born in an abandoned building on a floor, labeled educable, mentally retarded, no college training, that I would have produced 5 specials for public television, that I'd have 3 years ago the highest rated, fastest canceled talk show in the history of television, because I wouldn't do those conflict and controversy shows. No one could have told me. I had no idea that I could do what I'm doing right now. Let me tell you what I know about you, and I don't know you. You've got greatness within you. One of Dr. King's mentors, Dr. Howard Thurman, said something one night I was reading and couldn't sleep. He said, the ideal situation for a man or woman to die is to have family members standing around their bed, praying with them as they cross over. But imagine, if you will, being on your deathbed, and standing around you are the ideas, the dreams that have been given to you by life, the talents, the gifts that you've never nurtured, never developed, the skills you never did anything with, standing around your bed looking at you with large angry eyes saying, we came to you. Only you could have given us life. And now we must die with you forever. And the question is, if you died now, what dreams, what ideas, what talents, what abilities, what skills, what books, what sermons, what seminars, what businesses would die with you? Miles Monroe said, the wealthiest place on the planet is not in the far east where they have oil in the ground. It's not in South Africa where they have diamond mines. The wealthiest place on the planet is the cemetery, because there you'll find dreams not pursued, books never written, songs never sung, sermons never delivered, businesses never erected, talents never nurtured, skills never developed. You survived 1 out of 40 million sperms. You were born to win. God wants you to be rich and wealthy and successful and to live the abundant life. You must affirm that for yourself every day. So as you look at yourself and you look at your life and your circumstances, as you work on your goals and your dreams, here are some things I want to give you. Write this down. Hold yourself to high standards. What if Bishop T.D. Jakes had decided when he first received the idea of the Manpower Conference that it could not be? What if he allowed that idea to die? We would not be here. Many of you here. You are pregnant with some ideas. I'm telling you what I know. I will leave here this afternoon tonight, and in 1 hour doing what I'm doing now, I earn in excess of $150,000. I had no idea I had the capacity to do this. You've got genius in you. You're made in the likeness and image of God. You've got greatness in you. You have some special stuff in you. You showed up with it. So as you look at your life and decide to become a risk taker, make it okay to fail, experiment, trial and error. Repeat after me, please. No test, no testimony. Yeah, you're going to face some hard times. When you decide to commit your life to Christ, you're going to go through unadulterated hell. What's the first thing they say when you get on an airplane before they take off? Fasten your seatbelt. Why? Because you will experience some turbulence before you reach a comfortable altitude. Life was testing me when the man looked at me and said, you have prostate cancer. The tumor was too large to have surgery. They gave me radiation seed implants. The most anybody's ever gotten was 90. They gave me 138. 3 weeks ago, they checked my PSA level. A year ago, it was 6. 1, now it's 10. 5, the doctor said, I'm sorry to tell you this. I said, what do you mean? He said, you're in the same situation as when you first came here. Here's something I heard at Christ Universal Temple Church. Bishop T.D. Jakes was praying for a lady in a wheelchair. I'm sure questions were asked. Why didn't she get up and walk? And what he said was, healing takes place first. In the spirit, it didn't matter about the numbers. It didn't matter about the diagnosis. Judge not according to appearances. You must have the faith to call forth those things that be not as though they were. Now do you really believe? It's one thing to believe when you've got money in your pocket, your marriage is working, your children are acting right. It's easy then, but when you get a diagnosis saying you won't be here long, when you lose your job, when someone you thought you'd be with forever says I can't do this anymore, that's when you have to stand. That's when you begin to live this faith. That's when you have to be out of your mind, trying to believe in spite of these numbers, in spite of the pain. You've got to be in that Christ mind. You must believe. Not when things are just favorable, not fair, whether faith. Believe when you're out there with your ideas. Products, services, hold yourself to high standards. I use Bishop Jakes as a model. His people take care of you. He's thorough. Hold yourself to high standards. There's an old saying, do not go where the path may lead. Go where there is no path, and leave a trail. Treat people with respect. Treat them how you want to be treated. If you decide to provide first-class service, there's no defense against excellence that meets a pressing public need. When I decided to get into the motivational industry, I didn't have the money of Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, Zig Ziglar, Tony Robbins, and all other giants, but I had the gift of gab, so I trained myself. I disciplined myself to read 3-4 books a week. Mr. Washington said, Mr. Brown, do you want to make it? I said, yes, sir. He said, first, develop your mind, because you don't get in life what you want. You get what you are. Next, develop your communication skills. Once you open your mouth, you tell the world who you are. They said about Jesus, who obviously was an effective communicator, never spake a man like this man. The reason you are here is because no one can milk scripture and deliver a sermon that transforms your life like T.D. Jakes. Watching a video my daughter gave me, he called me son. By the end, I was crying in my bedroom. Daddy, come back. That man broke me down. That's a gift. I think I'm a good speaker, but he's a bad boy. Words can't even encompass what we experience in this man, and he's down to earth. Write this down: resilient, purpose-driven mindset. In the chaos of the world, with leadership confusion and conflicting messages, you've got to develop a mindset that's resilient and purpose-driven. Stay focused. I decided I'm not coming out the house till 2027. I got some new squirrel friends. I'm bilingual. I speak squirrel. I listen to motivational messages every morning. You want to listen to my voice? Go on YouTube. Find Les Brown, speaking in the Georgia Dome. Les Brown. It's possible. Les Brown. Getting unstuck. Listen to things that build your mental resilience, that help you rethink your life, reimagine your path, and become the next best version of yourself. Leading everybody, he's introducing everybody to me. He's the most motivated squirrel in my neighborhood. Les Brown is about to do his StreamYard or another Zoom. My kids say I've been in the house too long. I'm suffering from cabin fever, whatever. So read 30 to 40 pages of something positive every day. Drill yourself. You say, well, I've listened to it. No, no, no. Listen to it until you're manifesting results. Faith comes by hearing and hearing and hearing. So in order to develop that resilient, purpose-driven mindset, you want to listen to the messages over and over. Take notes on things that jump out for you and become the embodiment of it. Develop that kind of mindset in how you carry yourself and how you face this thing called life. Faith not tested can't be trusted. So you've got to have faith in yourself, but we're being tested right now. If you've never been tested, listen to me. No test, no testimony. Faith not tested can't be trusted. It's easy to have faith when things are going great, when the kids are acting like they have good sense, when you have a job, you have money, you have your health, though, no big deal there. But when life knocks on the door, when you go through some stuff, when you get a bad diagnosis, that's when you have to pull on your faith. That's when you have to be resilient. I've got a saying, and all of you know it. Life knocks you down. Try to land on your back. Because if you can look up, you can get up. Now here's the other thing that's very important. As you look at yourself, you want to master at least 3 things, multiple streams of income. I speak, I train speakers, and I'm an author, and I've got other things I'm expanding, and I'm 75. Why are you still doing it? Because you're never too old to learn, and you're never too young to teach. I believe the reason we look at people over a certain age and Alzheimer's and dementia becomes active is because they are inactive. My mother used to say, if you don't use it, you lose it. It takes longer to wear out than to rust out. So the goal is to be actively engaged in life, raising the bar on yourself. Turn down the amount of time that you spend entertaining yourself, watching the television, as my daughter doctor Ona Brown would say, and do things that will stimulate you. Thinking. It will keep you young. Just because you're 75 chronologically doesn't mean you have to look 75. No, no. So I decided just because I'm 75, you're not going to count me out. I'm still here. I'm going to be engaged in this thing called life because I have not done my best work yet. You have not done your best work yet. Every day is the best day of your life. As Orrin Hudson would say out of Atlanta, the chess master. Why? Because if you don't believe that, try missing a day. Every day is the best day of your life. Look for ways in which you can begin to master something. Learn something today that you did not know yesterday. Expand your horizon. Expand your vision of what's possible for you. Continuously be a student. My high school theme was, you never find out how much you know until you find out how little you know. Study. The people that are going to make it today are looking at the various trends. They're going from mindset mastery, learning 3 things that they can master to create non-performance income, and their study in continuously learning things that they can get at the end of their fingertips. On the internet, there's no excuse. No excuse today for not being in the mindset of achieving something beyond that which you have already done. Life is an adventure. Helen Keller said, life is either a daring adventure or it's boring. And this is an exciting time. You can earn money in the comfort of your home. Think about that virtually around the world. I just finished talking to some people in Germany, and then I talked to some people in Toronto, Canada. I'm making money around the world, and I'm still home virtually. Take advantage of this. This is something you want to learn. Mindset mastery and skill set mastery of the internet. So everybody can transform a kind of inconvenience into a huge advantage without any question, and it takes work. Now, there's no question that there are certain situations and structures around the world that don't allow people to dream. You know, I'm doing some work in South Africa right now in Johannesburg, and my first step is to help people to learn how to dream because they were under apartheid, a form of enslavement that did not make dreaming possible. And there are other places around the world just like that right now that are destroying people's dreams. I think that's why we see such global upheaval in terms of many dictatorships, because people are becoming more enlightened. In 2007, Time magazine recognized the computer as Person of the Year. And the reason it did is because it gives everyday people access to information that they never had before. And so now, people with that access to information are becoming more enlightened, and it's causing a great deal of disturbance with various types of governments around the world. It's huge. My message in France, and I would like to read that everywhere is, you have a dream, it's possible, so take action now. How can I help people to believe it's worth it? It's an ongoing process. Faith comes by hearing and hearing and hearing. That's what my favorite book says. You have to be an unreasonable person who's not looking at and judging the circumstances such as you see them, but you're calling forth those things that be not, as though they were. And if you read the book called Change or Die by David Dutchman, he said there is a person who is an unreasonable person who brings a message that it's possible, and repeats that message, and there are people who hear that message, who are able to relate to it and identify with it, and then they begin to move from and develop a whole approach to life with that new level of enlightenment. As he speaks or she speaks, it begins to give people a vision of themselves beyond their circumstances and their mental conditioning, and challenges them to begin to embrace some habits that cause them to make new choices, choices that help them carve out and become the architect of their future, as opposed to becoming volunteer victims. You do a lot of speeches all around the world, and you are not the only speaker, a lot of speakers, so according to you, I'm a trainer. I'm known as a speaker, but my gifting is, I started out as a trainer teaching people how to live their dreams, teaching them how to use their voice and their story, and leverage their knowledge to go from being local to being global. That's what my gifting is in. So as a trainer, why are there some speakers or trainers who give only information, and at the end you just say, oh, it's interesting. versus speakers like you, where you feel something. You're not just thinking, oh, it's interesting, but I can do that. I want to take action. I want to change something in my life. I don't know if it was interesting, but I will change something in my life. What's the difference? Well, there are many speakers who think that people are stuck because of a lack of information. I always say, if information could change people, everybody would be skinny, rich, and happy. They don't need us to come in and speak. They can go online, they can Google information. So information alone cannot create transformation. In order to change human behavior, you have to create a significant emotional event. The materials that I provide, training I provide, is designed to impact a person's mind, their heart, and their spirit. The goal is to distract, dispute, and inspire, to interrupt their story. How people live their lives is the result of the story they believe about themselves. So when I'm training speakers, I teach them how to become strategic experiential storytellers. Be strategic on how they use their story. You never make a point without a story, and you never tell a story without a point. And experiential, because as Oliver Wendell Holmes said, once a man or woman's mind has been expanded with an idea, concept, experience, it can never be satisfied with going back to where it was. When you take that approach, to change how they think and what they feel, then you now have positioned yourself to begin to create a thirst. There's a saying, you can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. You create a thirst where they want to drink, where they want to change. And now, because of their encounter with you, you've allowed yourself to be an instrument, as Mother Teresa would say, in the hand of God. Now that person will begin to write a new chapter with their lives. So it's about, how do we change the story that people believe about themselves? That story that's been given to them by life, given to them by their circumstances. We learn between ages 0 and 5 what's available for us and what's not available for us. Based upon those experiences and the people around us, in our environment, a word formulates in our mind. It's either yes or no. A word formulates in our heart, yes or no. It formulates in our spirit, yes or no. There are various things that can impact the formulation of that word and the conviction behind it, and how we move our lives forward. My goal, if the word is no, is to interrupt that word and to change it to a very affirmative yes. I love that. How do you have a strong will? Because a lot of speakers talk about having will, but how? That's why I talk about the mind, the heart, and the spirit. The reason we celebrate Nelson Mandela is that for 26 years they tried to control his mind. They were able to control his body, but most importantly, they couldn't break his spirit. That deep, down resolve, that dimension that's available to all of us, was explained to us in the book Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. A part of us that's always a part of us that's in our hands, the irreducible essence of who you are. That either you say yes or no, not based upon the circumstances, not based upon the pressure that's applied, but based upon your conviction. Are you going to give this the power to take advantage of you, or are you going to turn yourself over to this? We always have that choice. That's the greatest choice human beings have. Am I going to give myself a pass to surrender, or am I going to stand up? I remember telling a story when I produced my first PBS special on public television of a man who came by a house and there were people on the porch talking, and there was a dog moaning and groaning. The guy was curious, and he asked the owner, "Why is this dog moaning and groaning?" The owner said, "Because he's lying on a nail." The guy said, "Why won't he just get off?" He said, "Because it's not hurting bad enough for him to get off. Just hurting bad enough for him to moan and groan." And that's what most people do in life. They have the power to change their circumstances. You are made in the likeness and image of God. You've been given authority and dominion over everything on the face of the earth. But most people would rather moan and groan about their situation, show up in their lives as volunteer victims, rather than become actively engaged in doing the work necessary to change their circumstances. It's been said, there are two types of people, those who work and those who watch them. So you've got to be willing to do your internal work so that you have mental resiliency, and your external work. Find something you want to master that will allow you to move yourself forward. So the first step is to find what we want to master. Why are you here? What's your reason for being? Why do you get up in the morning? Most people don't have a clue, pay the bills, keep a roof over their heads. I think we have to reflect on, who am I? Why am I here? What drives me? If I die today, what 3 words would I want said about me? If I die today, what defines me, and how do I define myself? Most people allow their circumstances to define them as opposed to defining themselves and how they're going to show up in life. My mission is to help people connect with the power they have within their greatness. When you're pursuing your greatness, You don't know what your limits are, so you act like you don't have any. And when you live from that place, you make a greater contribution and a greater impact with your life because you see yourself in a larger context. There are 9 principles we teach of greatness. The first one is, each of us can achieve far beyond our horizons and avenues of life we've never explored. But most people settle in and accept things in life as they have been given, as opposed to rising above and creating something they can feel good about. That's the first person principle. The next one is, we must take responsibility for our actions and our reactions. You look at your circumstances, George Bernard Shaw said. People look for the things they want in life, and if they can't find them, they create them. And so when we look at ourselves, it's about that taking ownership for your life. One of the things I emphasize is that changing is not easy. Changing your life, changing habits, reinventing yourself, picking yourself up after life has knocked you flat on your back. I've got to say, when life knocks you down, try to land on your back, because if you can look up, you can get up. That sounds cute, but that's not easy. When I was diagnosed with prostate cancer 17 years ago, the first time that happened, I said, "Hey, I can handle this." Then when it came back last year 17 years later, and this time it metastasized to 7 areas of my body and ate 40% of my T1 vertebrae, now the stakes are higher. Is this life saying, "Okay, Mr. Motivator, you beat cancer the first time. What are you going to do now?" I started laughing when the doctor told me. He said, "Why are you laughing? Are you in denial?" I said, "No, I feel like Mother Teresa." He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Lord, I know you know how much I can bear. I just wish you didn't have so much confidence in me." So I said, "The stakes are higher. I've got to dig in and fight more." Because at the end of the day, life is a fight for territory, and once you stop fighting for what you don't want will automatically take over. It's a fight. It's a challenge every day. What we have to do is embrace it, see it as a project to be worked on. I read something once that I live by. In life, you will always be faced with a series of God-ordained opportunities, brilliantly disguised as problems and challenges. I see even cancer as a gift, a God-ordained opportunity. It's a test, no testimony. So you have to be willing to step up and handle it. Anybody can have faith when the bills are paid, health is good, marriage is fine, the children are behaving, and there's money in the bank. The true challenge of faith is when life knocks on the door, when you lose your health, or something happens to someone you care about, or you lose your wealth, or some tragedy happens to you. All of us over the next year will experience at least 3 tragedies, either personally or with someone we care about. Charles Udall said, "In life, things will happen around you and to you, but the only things that really count are the things that happen in you." And that's our domain. That's where we have control. We choose the answer. We choose how we respond. Will I allow this to get the best of me? Will I allow this to stop me? Am I going to surrender to this? Will I give myself a pass? Will I wimp out on myself? That's always a choice. If you do what is easy, your life will be hard. But if you do what is hard, your life will be easy. I didn't do what I'm doing now for 14 years because it was hard to make the radical change in my approach, my dress, learning the language of corporate America, gaining access, developing myself into an intellectual resource. It was hard, but we can do hard. All of us have moments when things have been thrust upon us, and we had to do hard. So don't give yourself a pass. Don't run away from hard. You can do hard, and through that, you discover a part of yourself you would never know otherwise. You're building your power through challenges. That only happens through growth experiences. If you go to the gym and you don't feel discomfort the next day, then you haven't done anything. You've got to challenge yourself, and yes, you're going to get hurt. Viktor Frankl talks about unavoidable suffering. Life is full of pain and disappointment. It's part of the process. And we are proud of ourselves when we overcome something. We discover things about ourselves. No test, no testimony, no guts, no glory. I was doing a broadcast once. A guy was coming up with crutches to be interviewed by me. He missed a step and fell. It was a very embarrassing moment. I went down to help him up. He said, "Don't feel sorry for me or be embarrassed. It goes with being a paraplegic. I fall all the time." And so we fall all the time in life. We make mistakes all the time. There's no life without mistakes. Anything worth doing is worth doing badly until you get it right. 8 out of 10 millionaires have filed bankruptcy. It's part of process. You go up, go down. You learn in tough times. Adversity introduces you to yourself, the part of yourself you would never know otherwise. So we have to help people maintain a spirit of optimism in spite of their circumstances. Give them hope. When there's hope in the future, there's power In the present, my goal is training 100 voices of hope who will do three things: help give people hope, teach them methods that help them develop the desire to reinvent themselves so they aren't replaced by an app or outsourcing, build communities collaborative, achievement-driven culture that support and help you get to the next level. We call ourselves cancer conquerors. One goose can fly 75% further in formation than by itself. So 100 voices giving people hope, helping them grow, and building supportive communities. That's how we make a difference. How can people contribute to this dream? They can email me at yeseyes@lesbrown.com. We'll send them a video and soon begin teaching the 7 principles of storytelling to help people influence, impact, and change lives. This is not about politics or religion, both of which divide. I'm just an average person, adopted, with no credentials, but with a desire to make a difference, to live a life of meaning, significance, and help others do the same. It's necessary to believe it's possible, that you can have your dream. Other people have done it, you can too. It's necessary to align yourself with people who think like you do. It's necessary to get negative people out of your life. It's necessary to never stop learning and growing. It's necessary to never give up. We know it's you, it's me. It's being responsible. Keep going. Find a way to win or make it happen. We know it's hard and we'll do it hard. And once we go through it, we'll realize it was worth it. And once you discover it was worth it, it is done. You were not born to just exist. You were born to live full and die empty. Don't let fear paralyze you. Don't let comfort trap you. Don't let your past define you. Every day you wake up, life is handing you another chance to fight for your dream. So I'm telling you, get up, dust yourself off, and go after it like your life depends on it. Because it does, you have greatness within you, and it's time the world sees it. This is your moment. Make it count.